Well, it's here! As a YouTuber who makes reviews and video essays on video games, it's my duty to have at least one Sonic or one Zelda video. That's what everyone else does. Some even went above and beyond and did both. So I picked Sonic Adventure, my favorite Sonic game. Even though there's tons of Sonic Adventure videos out there, I feel like I can still make one while being different enough. This isn't just me talking about the game, although mostly it will be. It will also be me comparing the Dreamcast version and the Sonic DX version, DX standing for Director's Cut. It was released on the GameCube and then just had a whole bunch of releases after that. The DX version I'm using is the one on the Xbox One, which despite not saying DX, I mean that's what it is. The Dreamcast collection doesn't have the original Dreamcast Sonic Adventure. It has the DX one, with just a couple menu options taken away. Menu options you can repurchase as an add-on if you want it to say Sonic DX, so that's weird. Anyway, point is, DX and original Dreamcast one is what I'll be talking about. Now, I also played a modded version of the game, but I won't be talking about that much because it's modded and not the official experience. So Sonic Adventure has 6 characters, each with their own story and a 7th unlockable ending story. We're going to be starting off with Sonic. We open with Sonic having to fight a transparent monster named Chaos. The SWAT team could not stop him, so they sent in the next best thing, which is Sonic. After a win, Chaos escapes and Eggman gloats, and then that night is over and we move on to the next morning. Comparison-wise, I like the fur texture of the Dreamcast better. The DX just looks too plasticky and they kind of got rid of the fur texture. However, I like the eyelids of the DX better. The blue just looks better to me. The lip sync is horrendous in both though.
Watch out! You're gonna crash! Ah!
So Tails crashes his plane and we need to run to him to see if he's okay. And so begins the first level. Now this level is a lot of fun. It's a great starting level and I'm also glad it's not Green Hill Zone. Not that Green Hill Zone is bad, just so many Sonics start with it or some sort of variation of it. Which, speaking of other Sonic games, this does not play like 2D Sonic games. It doesn't have the whole branching pathways thing, and the precision of the old games is also gone due to the homing attack existing in these 3D games. Now, some later levels do have branching pathways, but for the most part, they really don't change things much. Different isn't bad though, I love both styles, but different is enough that I feel like you could be a fan of one and not the other. Another neat thing is this whale. It never gets old. Such an absolutely cool part. Also, this is not important, but you can float here. Now, Sonic Adventure DX brought with it some glitches the Dreamcast didn't have. Not to say the Dreamcast wasn't buggy, it was, but somehow this director's cut has a lot more clipping issues where you can just fly through the floor. Anyway, we find Tails, and I forgot to mention I'm syncing these as well as I can, but even cutscene wise, no matter how perfect I get them, the timing of the DX cutscenes often ends up being just slightly faster than the Dreamcast cutscenes. Now, from here on, Tails tells us about a Chaos Emerald he can use to fly a plane and then leaves. And now we have our hub world of Station Square. I literally love this place. It has tons of NPCs to talk to. They have things to say which change throughout the game. And they develop like mini stories. Like there's this woman who has a crush on a man at the burger shop, and slowly after each stage she'll get closer to talking to him and asking him out. So talking to each character after each stage is one of the things I love about this hub world. Some people don't like this hub world. Sonic Adventure 2, they just straight up got rid of the hub world. And those people who don't like the hub world just want to play the stages. So, like, guess what? There's an option to just jump into the stages in the main menu. No hub world. So I don't get the complaining about the hub world. Honestly, the lack of hub world in Sonic Adventure 2 is the biggest of my many reasons that I prefer Sonic Adventure 1. Now, taking a train leads us to the Mystic Ruins, in which Sonic Team literally went to South America to study the land and designed both the music and land off what they saw on their trip. Mystic Ruins also has a lot of explorers you can talk to. Here we meet and fight Eggman in kind of a pathetic boss battle. He then takes the emeralds away, barely even holding it in his hands, and summons Chaos, a monster who we saw before. Now Chaos gets stronger with each Chaos Emerald. At least that's what the game says. I can at least say he has a different form with each Chaos Emerald. Whether it's harder to beat or not is debatable. So they leave and we move on to stage 2. This one is a lot of fun. It's called Windy Valley, mainly for its wind gimmicks, and it even has a tornado. It's a kick-ass stage. Next is the casino stage, known as Casinoopolis. Now this isn't like the other stages at all. It's actually a lot of pinball to collect 500 rings. The DX is noticeably brighter with a lot more lights, and also it weirdly uncentered the hedgehog in the words Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't really like pinball, but I feel like Sonic Adventure was honestly paying homage to a lot of games from the past. In this level alone, it does it in 3 ways. Well, 1, being a casino level, the classic Sonic games also had casino levels. 2, being pinball, Sonic literally had a spin-off pinball game called Sonic Spinball on the Sega Genesis. And 3, one of the pinball machines is a Nights into Dreams pinball machine, which was a Sega Saturn game made by Yuji Naka, who is the producer of this game. And all these callbacks are really cool. Plus, bonus fact that didn't exist yet at the time, Casino Pachinko machines use Sega ring sounds, so that's neat, but has nothing to do with Casinoopolis. Casinoopolis also has showers, which have vastly different tiles, and also Tails can watch you shower. I also want to talk about the color contrast. Sonic's blue is just so much brighter on the DX. After that we get another Chaos Emerald, which by the way is really different from classic Sonic, where you had to earn them in bonus levels. In this one they're integrated within the plot. Eggman gasses us and steals the emerald. And in the DX version you can see Cream the Rabbit fly by, which is a cool addition. Next level is Ice Caps. This one's fine. The biggest difference here is the Dreamcast is far more blue and the DX is far more white. Both work for like the cold icy place, so I didn't really have a preference. There's also a snowboarding part, which not only exists to show off how cool Sonic is, but also as a callback to Sonic 3, where he snowboarded as well. His board is also blue in the DX and yellow in the Dreamcast, not sure why this change. From here you meet Knuckles, who has been tricked into thinking you are after the Master Emerald again. You then fight him in the worst boss fight.
Oh no. Oh no. Give it your best shot. Oh no. Oh No!
And he ends up finding out it was for the Chaos Emerald and not the Master Emerald. Eggman gives Chaos the emeralds, which turns him into a fish monster. I like the DX version here better for the water transparency because you can see the ground. But I don't enjoy this fight. It's boring and it goes on too long and you have to do it too many times. Anyway, Chaos leaves again and we see the egg carrier, this giant airship of Eggman as it carries him off. I also noticed on the Dreamcast version, Knuckles has a bigger head. That doesn't really mean anything, I just noticed. Anyway, we get in Tails' plane the tornado to chase Eggman. And it's an on-rail shooter, and I absolutely hate it. However, this feels like a callback to a previous Sega Saturn game, Panzer Dragoon, so I can at least appreciate it. I also feel like these callbacks are important because the Sega Saturn did not sell super well, so it at least, I don't know, it at least like pays homage to games that some people may have never played. I also gotta mention Sonic Adventure started very differently when it was first beginning. Not only was it an RPG, but it was also using a more classic Sonic design before he got his Adventure updated look. And on the Dreamcast version, you can still see his older design on the plane. This was fixed in the DX version, but it's just a neat fact. After that, we drop out of the sky, land on our head, and run into Amy. She has a total redesign here as she now wears a red dress and has different hair. I honestly like both versions. I do not have a preference, I don't think. In my modern version, I do have her in her classic outfit because it's just fun to mix it up. Now Amy has a bird and wants Sonic to protect it, but Sonic's all like, no way, there are far bigger things going on. We then enter a theme park called Twinkle Park because cute couples get in free, which has always been a strange rule to me because 1, how do they profit, and 2, how do they decide who is cute? Imagine having to pay because they think you're ugly. How humiliating. Anyway, Twinkle Park is awesome. First off, we have these go-kart, bumper cart racing things, which I feel like is a nod to a previous Sonic game again. I want to say it was called Sonic Drift. It's a Sega Game Gear Sonic go-kart racing game. On top of that, the kart racing is just a lot of fun. I would have preferred this to Sonic R. The DX and the Dreamcast also have very different textures here too. And I don't know which I like better or why they decided they needed a change. There's also a roller coaster and I really like that part, but speedrunners hate it because it's like a mandatory part that just slows you down and all you can do is watch. Which I feel is fair. After all, speedrunning in a Sonic game, which is a game about speed, I feel like that should be something developers should consider. But also this game came out before YouTube even existed, so I'm cutting it some slack. Next we got my favorite level, Speed Highway. And again we got different textures. I think I gotta give it to the Dreamcast though, as the road looks more defined down to having tiny bumps. This level's a lot of fun, with a lot of speed and sometimes branching paths. There's also the coolest fucking Sonic moment in the game right here. And after that big run, somehow it's day now. We had ran all day. And we're running through this part of Station Square with both realistic cars and egg-shaped police cars. Now level 7 is Red Mountain and this level is amazing. If Speed Highway wasn't my favorite, this one would be. It blends a good amount of speed and platforming and well, this also being the level I felt I could take the most time off of. Every time I played this level, I felt like there was a chunk of time I took off, and I kept getting faster and faster. Then you also got this volcano, and it's got spooky aspects, and there's tombstones, and whatever these guys are. And then we reach the top of the mountain, and onto Tails' plane again, and it goes back into a rail shooter. And I think this is the game that really got me disliking rail shooters before I played House of the Dead and realized that rail shooters are better than this. Not only do these take too long and you don't do much here, but also you could just go to the top right corner and just keep pressing the shoot button, and by staying in the top corner and pressing the shoot button, you can win every time. And when the egg carrier is ready to fire at you, you just spam shots like right at the beginning and you can beat it in seconds. Level 8 is one of my least favorite levels. Skydeck is a level on the egg carrier, and I guess what I dislike about it is there are a million ways to fall off and die, and it doesn't feel as polished as the other levels. Also, having little camera control really hurts you the most in this level. In fact, in these Sonic Adventure games, the hardest enemy you will face is your camera. Because it can be really bad, I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, then we meet a robot named E102, who we fight and we easily beat, upon which Amy asks us not to fight it, and we are unsure why, but we listen to her. Also, Amy's there because she was captured by a different robot. Eggman gives Chaos an emerald, and he's Chaos 6 now. I actually like the DX version here more because the freezing effects look more legit. So we beat Chaos again, and Eggman flies off to escape. We also just fucking fall and splat into the Mystic Ruins. And here we see the temple. This is Lost World. It's level 9, and honestly, it's pretty good. There's a lot of puzzles and platforming, and it's just a really cool part where you ride a giant stone snake, and also like these cool mirror parts to light your path. But my favorite part, of course, is the Indiana Jones run from the boulder part. After reaching the end, we get transported to a vision of the past where we see a temple on fire and dead chows and an echidna named Tikal. She runs to the Master Emerald, and then bam, we're awake. Unsure what happened. Now, I'm sure a lot of this just feels like jumbled together. Sonic's story is like the overarching story, but if you're like, what even is the story? There's a lot of like side stuff where it's like, what even was that? Throughout the other characters' stories, it does explain it more, I promise. Anyway, so we go after Eggman again. Also, you can see a Robo Sonic, which is cool. I don't know if this version is ever used in anything. But even cooler is Metal Sonic from Sonic CD. He's here in a tube. Maybe he was going to be part of the game. Maybe he's an Easter egg. I know in a small cutscene of Amy's flashback you can see him, so maybe that's why he was put there. But in the DX version you can actually unlock him as a skin to play. He just replaces Sonic as a skin. Now on to the final level. This one has a lot of visual changes, mostly in color. It also is a very enjoyable level. I love these elevators with the arms. Anyway, then you fight Eggman for the final time, and he repeats a lot of the same lines and flails his arms a lot.
Get a load of this! See if you can make it through here, Sonic. Get a load of this. Get a load of this.
At last you beat him and get a cutscene and the credits to end the game. Now each time you beat any character, you will have to hear the credits again. So you're going to be watching the credits a total of 7 times throughout this game. Also, the credits are different in the DX and in the Dreamcast. And I absolutely hate that. At least keep the original people who made the game there and add the DX creators beside that. Don't just remove them. DX stands for Director's Cut, and the bastards didn't even use the same director. Also, now is a good time to mention Sonic's music is very different here than it was in the classic games. And this will be how his music is for many games to come. It's far more like rock, and each character has a different style of music. It honestly fits super well, and the tracks are straight up bops. I do love the classic Sonic music more, but this new direction they took it in is fantastic. Crush 40 makes Sonic's theme here, and also makes music in multiple other Sonic games, being a band very heavily tied into Sonic. Alrighty, let's move on to Tails' story. Tails' story starts with his plane crashing. One noticeable difference is the DX characters have fingers that are apart, whereas the Dreamcast just have blocky hands and lines to pretend their fingers there. Now each character is gonna hit a lot of the same beats Sonic's story did, with some differences, because they're all tied in. Also in the DX version, the water is different for some reason. So we fight Eggman just like in Sonic's story. One difference though is that the lines and the tone are different in Tails' version of events. Eggman seems meaner to Tails, and for some reason, Tails is the one who talks the most and not Sonic. Everything plays like Sonic's story, from here on out until our first level, Windy Valley. Now Tails' levels are usually just smaller versions of Sonic's levels, and he can only race Sonic, in which Sonic generously lets him win. What is fun about Tails though, is that he's super broken. In fact, he can skip large portions of a level with his flying. And I love that because it makes playing as him fun to figure out how to break the game and take more time off. It's like learning how to do speed running for people who don't do speed running. Tails' second level is the Casino Sewers, which you can actually play as Sonic by losing pinball without enough coins. This level's way too short, it's like barely a minute, and doesn't utilize Tails' ability at all. It's not a good level. Then the story continues on the same way as Sonic's does, until our level 3, which is Ice Cap. But only the snowboarding part of Ice Cap, again being just a tiny section of Sonic's already established level. The color change and board change also apply to Tails here too. All the same beats happen again, including the Knuckles fight, this long tedious fight, the awful tornado airplane stage. But then we get some new stuff, a memory of Tails and Sonic meeting, and Tails following him. Except in Sonic lore it didn't happen like that, and Tails was being bullied, and they were not in the Mystic Ruins. But hey, whatever, cute flashback. Tails then has this bonus stage where he's sandboarding, and this is our first Tails exclusive thing. But for some reason, this doesn't count as an official stage, despite it being just as much as his ice stage. Tails then enters a vision of the past, kind of like Sonic did, but his is different and more fleshed out. He sees a civilization and a tribe of echidna. He meets a girl named Tikal, who just kind of rambles about chaos and chaos emeralds. Also, Tinkle is our hint ball in the real world. And we wake up with Froggy, who we were chasing before for a Chaos Emerald. Next thing you know, a giant cat named Big the Cat comes after us for the frog, and in the DX version, it's not nearly as terrifying as it is in the Dreamcast. Big leaves with Froggy, and we have our Emerald again. And then more awful flying, and then in Tails' version, he says this.
Hey, it transformed! Did you see that?
Now how are we gonna get to the bridge?
I hate it when he doesn't listen to me.
Which is weird, because Sonic was listening. He just didn't care or something. Then we do a chunk of Skydeck, and continue with more of Sonic's story that we've already seen. Now from here on, the rest is Tails exclusive. After the battle with Sonic, Eggman lands in Station Square. Upset about his defeat, he launches a missile to kill everyone. Including himself, I guess. The missile's a dud, however, so Eggman is racing to make it go off. Tails gives himself a weird little pep talk.
Oh no! I better get to that missile before he detonates it! I've gotta get it before Eggman! The fate of Station Square depends on me! Sonic! I've changed a lot since I've started hanging with Sonic. But I can't depend on him forever. I know I can do this by myself. Okay, Eggman, bring it on!
And then we have a different version of Speed Highway where we race Eggman to the missile. This track is also broken, and I love it. We beat Eggman, so he can't detonate it. Eggman gets mad and gets into his invention, the Egg Walker. We get this scene, and Tails fights to prove to himself he can do stuff without Sonic, and that he's capable too.
Yes.
Get out of here!
You fool. Away, before I make mincemeat out of you.
I'm not scared. I'm not scared.
Get a load of this! No way! I can't believe it! Get a load of... No way! I can't believe it! Get a load of it! Get a load of this! No way! I can't believe it! Get a load of it! Get a load of it! Get a load of this! No way! I can't believe...
I did it!
You saved the day! You're the best!
I did it all by myself!
So yeah, we got like a little arc for Tails, and that's awesome. Anyway, with that, we will move on to Knuckles. So Knuckles' story starts with him guarding the Master Emerald once again. But then chaos breaks out of the Master Emerald and sends shards flying everywhere, and then escapes. This sends Angel Island falling down, and you, as Knuckles, must once again collect all the shards of the Master Emerald. Now Knuckles' gameplay is super different than his 2D version, or even Sonic's gameplay here. His levels are less linear and more in a boxed arena where shards are scattered about and he has to find them with a little radar at the bottom. This tells him if he's hot or cold, kind of like a treasure hunt. His first area is Speed Highway, but just the daytime Station Square-ish part. Knuckles still has a glide and his wall crawling and all those features, and while I'm sad I can't play as him in levels the way I do Sonic, his treasure hunting still isn't bad, and can be fun in a totally different way, while still having the speed element of trying to find them fast, as well as replayability, as the shards are randomized. Casinopolis is his second stage, and due to his climbing and gliding, we can actually see far more of it than you can see in Sonic's version of Casinopolis. After that, Knuckles is whisked away to a version of the past where the echidnas are, which is actually really cool to see him interact with other echidnas. He's also a lot smaller than them, which is interesting. We then see the Princess Tikal, begging her father to stop using the Chaos Emeralds for conquering and killing, but he won't listen. Knuckles then reawakens to the real world, and for some reason the Dreamcast version is dark in the hotel, but the DX version is lit up. Knuckles chases Eggman and once again meets Chaos for a unique boss fight that only he gets. It's Chaos 2. The fight isn't great, but it's one of the better Chaos fights. After Knuckles wins, Eggman literally pulls the same trick he did in Sonic 3, and it's like, oh my god, Knuckles, Sonic's after your Master Emerald shards. And Knuckles, without hesitation, falls for it, and he's like, shit, why would Sonic do this? We then get this awful scene, and the DX version is weirdly far more awkward and longer.
Why should I ruin your surprise?
I wonder what he meant by that. I'd better find Sonic.
Like, why the fuck was this change made? We then have the classic Red Mountain stage, another good one. Then that dumb fight with Sonic again. Then after the fight, Knuckles realizes he was tricked and Sonic was after the Chaos Emeralds. And we get this line that makes no sense.
Knuckles, did you let him trick you again? Like you weren't?
What do you mean, like you weren't? He wasn't. At no point was Sonic fooled by anything happening here. Maybe this was a bad translation, I don't know. But Knuckles doesn't say that in Sonic's version, he only says it in the retelling of his version. So in Knuckles' mind, was Sonic tricked? And by what? What was he even tricked into think? I don't understand. Then once again, you have to fight Chaos 4. And Jesus Christ, this boss battle happens too many times. After that, you have to search the Mystic Ruins for keys. And I don't know if I've talked about the Mystic Ruins much yet. But basically, this forest, jungle... Sorry, it's a jungle. This jungle area of the Mystic Ruins is purposely confusing on where to go, so that it can seem much like bigger and more complex than it is. There's explorers lost in the forest, and keys, and hidden passageways and such. And as much as I will defend Hub Worlds to my dying breath, I can't really defend this. I get what they were going for, but it can break up the pace and make players confused on where to go, confused on what to do, and even confused on how to find things. And some of those players really just want to get to the levels. I mean, the levels are the best part of the game, so having to figure out where the hell the game wants you to go can be kind of annoying. On top of that, the game doesn't really balance how much time is spent in between levels. It can be 5 minutes from one level to the next, or it can be like 25. Which can also be annoying if you aren't the kind of person who wants to go around talking to NPCs and doing all the side things. I mean, that's stuff I like, but that's not for everyone. Sonic Adventure 2 is much better at pacing with just level after level after level. I still prefer Sonic Adventure 1's way of doing it, but I guess I understand how certain parts of it can really be obnoxious, especially the finding keys in the Mystic Ruins kind of parts. So next you go to Lost World again, and you're just treasure hunting. Honestly, there aren't a lot of differences I noticed for me to discuss in the Knuckles levels. Also, the coloring of Knuckles' gloves is not different based on versions. I just forgot to get one of the power-ups in one of the playthroughs. Here is one of the differences though. We meet Tikal again, and the water on the DX and the water on the Dreamcast is vastly different. When we see Tikal, we're in the past again, and she's praying to the Master Emerald to help protect this place, and all these little flying boys called Chow. Knuckles then has my least favorite of his levels, the Sky Deck. It's like the others, but he has to tilt the ship different ways using levers, so it also adds puzzle elements. So depending on what you like, this could be the least favorite of your levels, or the favorite of his levels, you know? Knuckles then has another vision of the past, a third one, in which the DX has an exclusive shot of his head that the Dreamcast doesn't. Tikal explains her father attacked and it was bad. The DX lighting here I do enjoy more, as the Dreamcast is less lighting and more of just straight up really red. So go back to the real world and we fight Chaos 6. Then Knuckles puts the emerald together again, and that ends his story. Big the Cat is next, and he's the worst character in the whole game. Nobody likes him. His gameplay isn't fun, he's annoying, and all of that could be forgivable if it wasn't mandatory to play as him. But sadly it is. So Big the Cat lives in the jungle with his frog friend. Big has a super stupid voice, and I hate his voice. Anyway, Froggy eats a Chaos Emerald and runs the fuck away. So Big goes chasing after him. Your first stage is Twinkle Park. All there is here is a pool to fish in. It's not stages in the way other people's stages are, where there's a whole bunch of areas. Bigs usually stay in kind of one tiny spot. Now there are regular fish you can catch, and there is also Froggy. The goal is to catch Froggy. And why though? Why a fishing game? Who wanted a fishing game? Who playing Sonic? And just the high-speed, fun action of Sonic was like, damn bro, I could use some slow-paced fishing right about now. I mean, obviously, I think the goal was to have something more slow-paced for, like, people who weren't super into Sonic. It's like super fast stuff. But then why are you playing Sonic? Plus there's the Chow Garden, and that's slower and optional. Yeah, so Sega was really proud of their fishing games. They were shoving Sega Bass Fishing down the throats of Dreamcast lovers with their Dreamcast collection. So I assume part of it might be for that. But on top of that, Sonic Adventure wasn't just the next-gen Sonic game, but it also served as a tech demo for what the Dreamcast could do. And I know, again, I'm pretty sure they were like proud of their water transparency type thing, so I guess all of that. But still, this wasn't really fun for me. Every time you capture Froggy, he gets away in some manner, and you have to catch him again. The next level is Ice Cap, with a pretty big difference in lighting and coloring. But overall, it's just fishing. Then we see the scene of Big coming after Froggy, who Tails is holding. And again, the DX version just does not capture how terrifying he looks. So now we're on the beach fishing. The game doesn't teach you how to fish, by the way, so it's amazingly frustrating to start. Because Froggy, he'll tease you, right? He'll grab the lure, but not hold on. So, and I don't remember what you have to do, but there's like some sort of button thing you have to do to stabilize the lure to make it stay put. And that honestly helped so much and cut off so much time to making him grab it. Because otherwise it takes way too long and he just like keeps grabbing and ungrabbing and grabbing and ungrabbing. He's just like edging you, basically. Big's levels being kind of quick do make it far more tolerable. But again, if you don't know the trick, where you just keep it like balanced, it can feel like it's taking forever to catch him, and it's just so aggravating. Even still playing this, knowing the trick was aggravating. I just fucking hate playing Big's levels. The second we grab Froggy, a robot named E102 steals him, so we have to go to the egg carrier and get him. Unimportant, but Eggman has weird statues of just torsos. This part of the stage is just a chunk of stage built for Amy. In fact, I think all of Big's stages, except maybe the beach, are just a small part of another stage. I could be wrong on the beach thing though. It might also be part of Sonic's beach stage, just in an area you don't usually go to. Now you catch Froggy again, and boom, Big gets teleported to the past. Big, of all the characters, why does he's unimportant to everything happening. To call rambles about how maybe the Master Emerald is the controller of the other 7 Chaos Emeralds, this is really unimportant to Big, as he only cares about finding a frog. Snap back to reality, and Chaos eats Froggy to get his Chaos Emerald and become Chaos 6. So now Big has a big boss battle, in which you don't battle, you just fish Froggy out of Chaos and then leave the fight scene to Sonic and his friends. In the Dreamcast version, Big does not hold Froggy for this clip. Then we get our ending sequence of them just hanging out, and Big just falls over for some reason. And I can't express how much I dislike Big. If there was a mod to remove him from the game, I'd use it. Anyway, next chapter. Now we have Amy. She was never a playable character in the mainline Sonic games. She debuted in Sonic CD, but she was not playable. Although, in the recent Sonic Origins update, they are making her a playable character for the classic games, so I'm actually kind of excited about that. Anyway, not important to hear. Yeah, so in Sonic CD, Sonic had to rescue her, and she was labeled as the wrong character in the manual, and I don't know, she just gets to be a much more filled out full character here. But yeah, so after the classic games though, she had some changes. She appeared in Sonic the Fighters and was given a hammer, and that hammer has been part of her character ever since. And in this Sonic Adventure, she got a total redesign and outfit change, and I honestly love both versions. The opening of Amy's story has different colored cop cars as well as different colors on citizen outfits. I don't know why a change was made for the DX version. The stripe on Amy's dress in the DX version is also smaller. Amy has flashbacks to Sonic CD because she misses Sonic, and we get a glimpse of Metal Sonic, which is really cool. Anyway, Amy is bored, and she wants excitement, and just then the egg carrier flies over Station Square. A bird falls from the sky and lands on Amy, who then takes it to protect. Then a robot named Zero falls out of the sky and begins chasing her and the bird. The robot's after the bird, but Amy is protecting it. So she goes to Sonic for help, but he's busy with everything else going on, so he doesn't seem to want her around. Amy gets distracted though by the Twinkle Park cute couples get in free thing, and we have her first level. Now Amy's not as fast as Sonic, and she doesn't have like the special abilities the way Tails and Knuckles do, so you would think she wouldn't be as fun. But actually I love her gameplay. While she may lack those things, her use of the hammer does make her a lot of fun, allowing her to attack and to bounce great distances. And she can also hide in some things. In later games such as Sonic Heroes, she kinda just becomes like Sonic and runs really fast. And I think that's a bummer because I enjoyed her unique gameplay style. It's less about speed and more about skilled precision jumps and small puzzles. The annoying thing about her levels though is that robot we saw earlier, his name is Zero, he's gonna chase you throughout the levels. We then get captured by Zero and placed in jail on the egg carrier. E102 comes in to take the bird, but Amy appeals to him, and E102's programming begins to break down as he experiences feelings and realizes he shouldn't give the bird to Eggman. He frees Amy and the bird, and that's another thing I like about Amy. She can find other methods out of a situation without having to fight every time. I guess what I'm saying is she's a unique character in this game. But in Sonic Heroes, she basically just becomes Pink Sonic in terms of gameplay. Amy goes through Hot Shelter, which has a very different look on the Dreamcast from the DX. Most of the textures are changed. Zero comes after her and she's able to escape again, but this time she ends up teleported to a vision of the past. She meets Echidnas and sees Tikal meeting the Chow, and Tikal's like, she's afraid her people are gonna hurt the Chow. Anyway, so back to Amy. She wakes up in Eggman's swimming pool. What a weird place to end up. Then we have Sonic fight E102, and Amy stops him from killing E102 because E102 helped her, and he's a good robot. He's a good robot. Who's a good robot? That's what it sounded like I was saying. Jesus Christ. Anyway, Amy then goes to find Eggman's base in the Mystic Ruins, and in the DX version it's day, but in the Dreamcast it's night. Unsure why the change here? We then have Amy's final level. That's right. They only gave her 3 stages. That's so unfair. This one's in the final egg, and she again is running from Zero. After beating it, she reunites with the bird. She reunites the bird with his family. And then Zero punches the bird. This pisses Amy off, and she decides she's going to destroy Zero now. The Zero fight is somehow one of the best boss fights in the game. Like, it still isn't anything impressive at all, but it at least isn't like when you have to fight Knuckles or E102 or something. Like, it's designed as a boss fight better. After Amy beats him, she sees the birds are okay, and then they fly away and Amy's story ends. E102 opens with a Robocop POV type view of Eggman, who explains he created him and that he must follow orders. Eggman then sends E102 Gamma to practice. What follows is our first stage, a very, very short stage of killing Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails dolls, which makes me wonder, is that why the Tails doll from Sonic R exists, or is this just like an unrelated thing? After that, Eggman makes us fight another robot, our brother E101 Beta. The fight, like all boss fights, is pathetic, and jeez, they are real fucking pathetic in this one. Beta is told he can be on the ship as a spare set of parts. Eggman then hosts this big announcement to his robot team. He tells them that he needs this very specific tailed frog. On to the next stage, which is just the first part of the beach level. E102 exists because I guess someone asked for a character to have a gun in a Sonic game, so Sega was just like, yes, okay. And it feels like a weird thing to ask, I guess. After catching the frog, E102 is teleported to a vision of the past, which is a little nuts because why? He is like a robot, you know? Here he meets the Chow, and they just sing a lot. Tikal is afraid that he's gonna kill the Chow, but then she realizes he's safe. She then tells him about how Chaos protects the Chow, because they are too vulnerable without him and they could die. She explains that her father is planning on killing them and taking these Chaos Emeralds, but she wants to stop him. After that's over, Eggman yells at his robots for bringing the wrong frogs, because E102 brought the right one. But if there's only one right one, of course they can't bring more right ones, so it seems like they were going to be treated poorly if they brought a frog or not. He then teleports them away. Eggman tells us to go see Amy and get the bird from her. But we accidentally enter the wrong room. And here we see E101 Beta being torn apart. used for parts, and it really bothers E102. We then go to see Amy. Now, Eggman, he uses animals for all his robots, right? They all have animals inside them, and specifically there are birds called Flickies, and they were in the classic Sonic games. They had their own Sega Genesis game called Flicky, and they're a big part of Sonic 3D Blast. I bring this up for context of what happens here, right? Because E102 tries to force Amy to give him the bird, but she doesn't want to. But when the Flicky flies in front of E102, he begins to shake and he becomes confused. Something feels familiar about the bird, and he ends up letting Amy and the bird go, disobeying Eggman while knowing the consequences that could happen. Also, Amy has some slightly different shots in the DX versus the Dreamcast for some reason. Anyway, E102 gets called by Eggman to kill Sonic. We know Sonic wins, and Amy begs Sonic not to kill him, and Sonic listens, but now we have the context for why all this happened. E102 decides Dr. Robotnik is the enemy, and that he must save the other animals trapped in his robot brothers by killing the robots. He will no longer serve Robotnik, and is a rogue robot now. Next we have Windy Valley, and I gotta sadly say E102 has the shortest stages. They are straight up like a minute long for most of them. That really sucks. I mean, I'm not in love with the gameplay, right? But I don't hate it. I would enjoy longer than 1 minute of it. We then fight our brother 103 Delta, and we destroy him. Then we head to Red Mountain. Now what I like about E102 is his story mainly. It's far better than the others. I also forgot to mention E102's time goes down instead of up, and you get more time by killing. But this really doesn't matter, as most of his levels, again, are so short it's a non-issue. We then fight our brother E104 Epsilon, and we also win that. E102 goes through his list of who's left, and the big difference between Dreamcast and DX is just time of day. So then we go to the egg carrier and find our brother. Big differences here is textures. Specifically, the Dreamcast has a lot of wood texture, but the DX has a lot of metal. And I guess that is a good change. But also, why? It's nitpicky. It's not needed. We then fight our brother E105 Zeta, who at this point has been turned into a spinny turret thing.
Rescue complete. Units remaining. Gamma.
That's right, E102 Gamma realized he also is on that list, so after he destroys all his brothers, it's him who is next. Just then he sees Beta, who has been transformed greatly, and the two battle, the two damaging each other a lot. Beta explodes and a Flicky comes out. E102 has memories come back, and he realizes that they were actually family. E102 explodes, and out comes his Flicky. And at last, the family of Flickies reunite. Gamma, Beta, and the Flicky who was with Amy. So now is the moment we unlock the special new character by beating all of the other stories. And who is this new character? Well, it's Supersonic! Previously only playable by beating special stages in the classic game, Supersonic is now playable by beating the stories. I don't know why I said that. That wasn't planned. It wasn't in the script. Chaos grabs the emeralds and fights Knuckles and Eggman. Meanwhile, Sonic is relaxing when Tails comes rushing to him with bad news about Angel Island, home of the Master Emerald. Sonic and Tails go to check up on them, and they see that they've been beaten up by Chaos.
He's not gonna get away with this!
Sonic then is teleported to a vision of the past, and he has his own unique animation for the DX version. We see Tikal's father attacking and fighting to gain the Chaos Emeralds. They dramatically go in and begin attacking and hurting the Chow. and that brings out Chaos to help defend. Anyway, Sonic wakes up and just look at this dumb face Tails makes. I love it.
I was on a snooze cruise, I guess.
Good thing you're okay. You just sorta conked out there.
We rush to the Tornado 2 to get the last emerald, but then Chaos gets it. Now he has all the emeralds.
Now what do we do?
At least with all 7 emeralds, we get to see Chaos's true power, and I just love this cutscene. Chaos on the Dreamcast versus the DX have wildly different textures, but both keep the strange floppy lips. Tikal then shows up, like not from a vision, she's actually there. She transforms from our hint ball to Tikal and tells us we must defeat Chaos or he's gonna destroy the world. Sonic's friends then come in and tell him this weird fucking mumbo jumbo that like... How the fuck did Tails know this, and also what?
Chaos only used the negative power of the emeralds. Sonic, you should be able to harness their real power.
As much as I hate to admit it, I think Tails is right about this.
Go, Sonic! Yeah, Sonic!
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 Negative forces aren't the only way to empower the Chaos Emeralds. Our positive feelings toward each other can make them work. Our hearts together form awesome power.
What is this bullshit? Also, why does Knuckles hate to admit it? Did he previously hate admitting Tails was right about things? And if so, when did that happen? The two, like, almost never interacted, really. Then a group of people cheer for Sonic. A group of people who were not animated into the game, so it's just disembodied voices. And kabam! Sonic is now Supersonic. And Crush 40 fucking blasts a badass theme for this final fight. Also, this is perfect chaos. You may not like it, but this is peak male form. Perfect even. I try every day to get a body like this. Supersonic is all about speed and keeping rings. If your rings hit 0, you are no longer super, and they deplete while you're super. But as super, Jesus Christ, did I say super a lot? You are hella fast. You can fly on water, and you just keep ramming him. At last, we defeat him. He becomes normal, and he sees the Chow and calms down. He becomes nice again. Tikal tells him the Chow have stayed alive for a long time, and they live peacefully with humans. And then Chaos is no longer upset. Then Tikal and Chaos, they float away and vanish. She kind of force chokes him away, it looks like. Yeah, and then Eggman runs away and hides, and that is the end of the game. Overall, I like a really good chunk of this game. E102 has the best story, Sonic has the best gameplay. It's a lot of fun, and I didn't even mention close to everything. Like the Chow Garden, which is a virtual pet simulation where you could raise and take care of Chow. Something that's actually so complex, it would need its own video. It's side content that's like a game within the game. Cybershell has a video on it, and I recommend that. I also didn't mention the amazing dialogue that happens within the hub world. Lots of drama, but again, this would require its own video. And again, Cybershell has a video on it I recommend. There's just so much to say about this game. I feel like someone could do a YouTube channel based just on this game and its sequel. And while this game does have a lot of issues, and Big the Cat, I do still believe it is a good game. And between the two versions, I recommend either, but I'd say I recommend the Dreamcast more. But what I really recommend is to buy it on Steam and mod that shit out of it to your liking. There's even mods to make it look more like the Dreamcast version, but like more HD. Which of course I did, but then the other mod I added was a classic character skin just for fun. Anyway, thank you for watching. This video took a long time to make, so please subscribe.